What happened? What happened? Hi. Hi, my name is Chris Nolan. I directed, the films Inception and Interstellar. Alright. So, actually, I'm Crixium98, also just Chrix or Crixium or Crixiam or however you wanna pronounce it. I speedrun The Hobbit and some other less notable games. I write music, stuff like that, basically.
All right, and to start
And I
things
stream on
off
Twitch.
as well as I could, I managed to keep myself muted for the introduction, but that's okay. We don't. Nothing I said was important, anyways. All right. So Crix, let's jump into this. We've got a handful of questions for you today. I don't want
It's
to.
a small handful.
I don't want to try and rush it too much, but there is quite a bit I want to get through. So let's start by originally, I was going to ask you and jump into your streaming situation first, but I've been informed that it's probably a better idea for you if we get started with how you got on YouTube first, correct?
So, yeah, I kind of if I remember this was way back in 2015. It started with me, I was kind of just finding glitches in The Hobbit and not uploading them,
Mhm.
and I came across in 2015 MK's speedruns, which back then he was, I Rule
I rule.
782 on
Mhm.
YouTube. Um, and I found at the time, I found a pretty big Flies and Spiders skip that saved about 50 seconds. And I wanted to get in contact with these speedrunners because I'm like, this could save a lot of time. They
Yeah.
could use this in speedruns. This would be pretty cool. So I went and YouTube had like I don't know what I was thinking back then, but instead of like leaving comments on any videos or anything, I used the YouTube Messenger system that existed at the time and messaged like every Hobbit speedrunner that I could find on YouTube saying, "Hey, I just found this cool skip. Check me out." So eventually Iroh reached back. I emailed him back and forth a bit, and we got this thing up and going. And then after he dropped out of the community, I started watching some Hobbit speedruns on Twitch, started communicating with those people on Twitch and uploading my stuff on there. So it really started off as like just uploading strats and eventually starting to upload speedruns. And then I think I want to say March of 2017 was when MD Pie came along and found a bunch of glitches.
Mhm.
And around the time that he found LTS, which is the name for the main menu glitch we use
Yeah.
in GameCube, around that time was when I first started streaming because I remember my first stream was like, okay, we just found this big glitch. I'd like to explain this to people, and I like to do it in an environment where they can actually ask questions about it
Yeah.
as we're doing it. So that was really my first stream.
Okay.
And
So
at that time, the world record was, I think, a 35:21.
mhm.
So I did get like one or two more world records before we started finding the bigger skips in The Hobbit as well, and managed to stream those ones.
And so you got started exclusively Hobbit, right?
Correct, yes.
Hobbit YouTuber. And how much traction did like some of those earlier videos get before you started streaming?
Well, they they weren't exactly uploaded to gain traction. Like a
Yeah,
lot
I
of
mean,
them
I get
I
it's
would
a niche
upload
thing just to help
as
the community
on
out.
a lot of them I would upload just as unlisted videos and share with like specific people in the
Uh-huh.
Hobbit community. But then when I actually started uploading speed runs, that's when I started really getting traction. I specifically remember my first two world records, which are my 37:57 and my 36:44, both had like almost no views, and I'm like 100% sure that it was because of the recording quality. Because again, I'm sure you know from the documentary, but I didn't have a capture card back then.
Yeah.
So I just recorded by literally turning my laptop around to
Yeah.
have the webcam face the TV and
The
recording like
classic.
that. But when I actually got my capture card, I improved the world record down to a 35:48, and that was the run that like over the next 7 months got to like 4,000 views or
Hey.
something.
And sorry, was that, because I don't recall exactly, was that also webcam captured, or did you have a capture
No,
card by
no,
that
no,
point?
no. It was just my first two, my
Just the first two,
3757 and
okay.
3644 that were webcam captured. And then when I broke my 3644, I believe it was a 3632 that was my first capture card record.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And were those streamed at that point, or were those still just uploaded as videos?
No, I got all the way down to 3521 before I started streaming, and then my 3510 was the first record that I streamed. And then immediately after the 3510, like a couple days after, was when we found like the game breakers of Warm Welcome and Inside Info. So that
Hmm.
was when I really started streaming everything, was when those skips were found.
And we're just talking about GameCube so far, right?
Correct, yes. I almost never streamed PC until like this year.
So when were you in the PC scene, being one of the first people to do it? Is this prior to all the YouTube stuff?
So the early days of PC are actually something that I don't linger on too much because that's also part of you know what, I'll just say it the way it was.
Sure.
I ran PC back in 2015 and that was my main console. Back when Irul was still part of the community before he had quite left.
Hmm.
And I I did a couple runs, and then I found out that he had left the community. I joined the community. I was still on PC. I can't remember, I want to say it was like a 33 or something on PC, like 33, 39. Submitted the run to the leaderboard because somebody decided that we should add a PC category to the leaderboard.
Hmm.
Well, he came along and I don't remember the exact details, but he like changed a bunch of variables on the leaderboard and changed a bunch of things around, and I don't know. We had issues with him back then. The reactions that came from that weren't so great, and
Who else were moderators on the
after
leaderboard at the time?
at the time it was just him, Silence Erupts, and AJ Johnson, who was a really old runner. But we had recently added, I believe, Quantum and Kerf Murph to the moderation team.
And did they agree, or were they pushing for
No,
PC to be its own category?
they did not like what he did on the
Okay.
leaderboard. They did not approve of it. And then after that, when I actually when I submitted that run and it was kind of messed up on the leaderboard like that, I was like, you know what? I've got a way to speedrun the game without any controversy. Why don't I just run GameCube? So I picked up a GameCube copy and did my first run. Like I learned the whole run, and my first run was a sub 50. And I'm like, you know what? Nobody gets a sub 50 that fast.
Yeah,
I
no,
think I
exactly.
can do GameCube. And within 5 months of getting my copy, I had world record, and then just pushed it down, 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 down from there.
Well, it is upsetting to hear about the slight patchy start, but I'm glad that
Yeah.
PC is in the state it currently is, because I
I'm
mean,
just amazed that it's had such a turnaround now
yeah,
that he's
aside
like
from
one of
being
the highest
faster,
PC runners at this point.
yeah, it's so much more accessible to get into. I mean, there is some weird hardware stuff that makes it a
I
little
do
bit
want to
annoying.
clarify, I hold no ill will toward
Of
MK
course, yeah. I mean, it
over
was it
any of
was years
that.
ago, so.
Right.
All right. So you got streaming. Now, was the main thing holding you back from streaming when you started just the lack of equipment, or is there more that led up to that decision to start streaming?
So it was partially the lack of equipment, and it was partially the fact that in 2016 I started college, and I don't know. My computer at the time, for some reason, really, really, really did not like Twitch.
Mm,
So every time I tried to stream to Twitch, it just, I don't know, nothing went right. It would not work for me. So
okay.
that held me back from streaming for a while because, Twitch is the platform to stream on. And if you can't stream on Twitch, don't stream.
I mean,
Well,
certainly
then
back then as well.
when that whole menu glitches thing was discovered and I decided to stream it to YouTube because I've already got an audience on YouTube, I might as well stream. That's when I kind of realized YouTube might be a good platform to stream on because I was actually able to stream there
Hmm.
without any issues. So for the next like year and a half, 2 years, however long it was, actually way longer than that. I think I did it through like 2020 even. I was streaming to YouTube live services
I mean, the
with
the audience on
occasionally still
YouTube has
streaming
picked
to
up,
Twitch.
especially now that they're hiring like contracted
Right,
workers,
right.
basically. So you were there like as the trend was starting to pick up, I guess, which is not
And
the
one of the
worst time.
things I really like about YouTube streaming compared to Twitch streaming as well is that with YouTube you literally just need an email and then
Mm,
you can sign in and join chats and whatever. With Twitch you have to create a separate Twitch account and
yeah.
I don't know.
All right.
And like on YouTube anybody could come into chat. The downside to that is of course anybody can come in the chat.
There's a little bit of that for sure. So
Right.
so were you thinking about streaming for like a while prior to the decision to actually go for it, or was streaming just like a spur of the moment thing for you?
I mean, I wanted to stream, but I wasn't really, or convinced myself I wasn't able to because I wasn't able to do it on Twitch.
Okay, yeah. And well, I mean, were there like inspirations for you streaming that you thought, hey, I could be like this guy. All you have to do is, OBS is free software, and obviously the Twitch issue, but YouTube works just as well. Were there any streamer inspirations for you?
Honestly, for the longest period of time, before he actually left the community, like through 2015, iRule was a very big inspiration to do basically everything that I started, like
Mm-hmm.
be it speedrunning or streaming in general. But I don't know. When I started on YouTube, I didn't exactly have any specific people who inspired me who I can think of.
Okay. Uh, Now to bring it more in line with current life and how things are going now, I'd ask you, have you ever thought about streaming? Obviously, some people can turn it into a career. It's very luck based, but have you ever thought about streaming as a career option? If the opportunity presented itself to you, do you think that you could stream full time?
It's something that I've thought about but not actually seriously considered, mostly because the content that I enjoy streaming on the platforms that I stream
Yeah.
is not sufficient content to make a career out of.
And why do you think that?
It's not that I couldn't make a career, it's just that I really don't enjoy well, first of all, most of the content that I stream is Hobbit speedrun based because that's really primarily what I enjoy streaming.
Mm-hmm.
There's not really anything else that I've been able to stream that I enjoy that I know the viewers also enjoy and that doesn't just frustrate me to no end.
And is
Like
is
Reader
this
Rabbit, for
just
example, I can speedrun, but I cannot stream. I will not stream Reader Rabbit.
reading? Is
I
this
know,
just
I know,
because
I know.
you think that The Hobbit like doesn't have that big of a community behind it to support going full time?
Um,
Because like it just as far as
I
speedrunning, like let's pretend in a world where Hobbit picks up as much traction as like SM64, right? Is that then something you would start to consider? Like, is the act of streaming itself not a problem? Just happening to be realistic about the numbers.
I suppose if The Hobbit really, really blew up, that it could be something that I could consider, like if it blew up to the levels of Super Mario 64. That being said, I think with that much attention on me, I would probably just back off streaming because I get very frustrated when I'm just because essentially my choices when it comes to speedrunning are I can either speedrun and get full runs or I can speedrun and try to grind for a PB. You can't really do both because
Yeah.
if you're getting full runs, if you're just running for consistent full runs, like think of people like I think it's Point Crow and like Small Ant and stuff like that, where they just I can't think of what channel it is. I know Easy Speezy does it, where like they'll just do speed runs of like a billion different games out there. Like they'll
Mm-hmm.
download like a billion mobile games or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
They don't really care about their times as much. They just want to get runs of like everything they can, which I understand. I really enjoy their content, but
Yeah.
that's not what I do. I want to get really, really good runs and I want to improve my PBs, which unfortunately requires resetting a lot, especially in early levels like Dream World, Unexpected Party, Trollhole, stuff like that. So, with that much resetting and with that much replaying the beginning of the game, I can't really see much interest building up in my stream. And if it does, I don't want to just be exposing people to the first 3 levels of the game over and over.
I mean, that's very fair. I think you take like a super realistic take on your own content and understanding that it's not, if you're grinding for like world record, it's not the most approachable content to view.
Right.
You know, like I still think like there is some balance to be tied. Like ZFG is a good example where, you know, while he definitely does a lot of grinding, he also throws in, you know, randomizers and stuff. Not that there is one for the Hobbit, but
Right,
you know,
right.
you can certainly mix it up as well as, you know, being very diligent on actually grinding for records and stuff. But I like your take on it. So if you are taking that stance currently, at least with how you view your own stream, is there any alternative before we talk about, you know, what you currently do as work for like sustenance and a viable living option? What would your dream job be if you could pick anything?
Um, I don't really have a specific dream job as much as like a series of things that I
Sure.
wish that I could do, such as like really there's really cheesy stuff like going to Broadway and being a big actor on there, but also just stuff like I want to make things like I want to make a game, or I want to write a script for a movie and make a movie, or I want to write more music, stuff like that. Like I
Yeah.
really like making things, and I wish that I could make things that could I hope that someday I'm able to make something that blows up in a sort of way that gets me access to potentially having that as a career choice.
Yeah. I mean, I certainly have ambitions like that as well. I do think it's, I don't know, I don't think it's necessarily has to be labeled as like daydreaming or too dreamy or anything,
Right,
because
right.
it's good to have aspirations like that. And I think, you know, like you do make music, and I like a lot of the music you've made.
A
And
lot of the
obviously,
stuff I think that holds me back from actually having that as a career option is just my choice or my fear to just not pursue it, if that
mm,
makes sense.
yeah. I mean, I think anybody working in a creative space like that has thoughts of, you know, should I even be posting this at this point? Like, am I good enough to post this? That kind of thing. Uh,
Absolutely. None of the
yeah.
music on my music channel is actually finished
Sure.
in
Yeah.
my
I mean,
head
I
anyway.
don't even think there's anything wrong with saying that. Like, I know I talk a lot about the things I've made in a negative light, and I've gotten messages from people being like, you should be proud of yourself. You know, you shouldn't look at your own work in this way. But I think anybody who has created something like this, especially in a case where it's taken like months, years of your time to create it, no matter who you are, you're going to be looking at the flaws more than anything else. Uh,
Right, right.
and it's a
And like
building process.
that's part of the thing with creating things is that they're never going to be done to the extent that you want them to
Yeah,
be. They're
there's
never going to
always
be
something
perfect.
else you could
At
do.
some point, you have to release it anyway.
Yeah.
Or you can just never release it, but then no one ever sees it.
And I mean, at some point, the more you work on something as well, like, you need to move on, right? Like, I can understand, you know, obsessing over like one piece of music or one piece of artwork or one game, whatever it
Right,
is
right.
you're creating. Uh, but at some point, the more you analyze and critique what is wrong with it, like, you just have to understand that you could spend, you know, like another few months, another year working on this project to really shape it in the way that you want. But more often than not, the better option is I'm just going to release this. It's not going to be perfect, but you know, I learned a lot while making it, and the next thing I make will be better.
And also I've had the experience with some things where when you add more to it, you end up somehow messing something up in the
It can
process.
definitely happen.
So that's something that's happened as well. Like sometimes I just have to stop myself and say, if I keep going, something's gonna go wrong.
It can
Right now it's at a
absolutely
state where
happen.
I like it.
Yeah. All right. So let's talk a little bit about Wendy's, if you don't mind. Is that something you're okay with talking about?
I do not mind at all. I've
Okay.
actually talked about it a bit on stream, although it's usually more of a passing gag than
Yeah.
anything else. But I do work a full-time job at a Wendy's.
Okay. So how long have you had this job?
Like, hold on.
It doesn't have to be exact, but
Like 3, 4 years, somewhere between there. It's been long enough that I can't remember. To
and
be fair, a year is long enough that I can't remember, so.
have you moved up in the company at all? if you don't mind
Yes, I'm
asking?
currently. I want to say I'm second down from the general manager, but I'm not
Okay.
in the title of assistant manager. But I'm currently working toward that spot.
And it's approachable for you at this point.
Correct, yes.
Okay. Well, that's great. So, are you satisfied with your job at Wendy's?
I actually don't mind working there. And I think part of what I like about working there, at least right now, is that I work a morning shift. So I'm able to, even if I have to be up early in the morning,
Mm-hmm.
I'm able to come home and actually get other things done during the day.
I
Like
mean,
I'm
do
not
you have
working
a
a 9 to 5 where like you're pretty much spending your whole day at work and then you come home and just go to bed, like eat dinner and go to sleep.
so you do have a consistent schedule then? It's like the same every week more or less?
It's been the same every week for like the last 5 months, and
Okay, well
before
that's
that it
good.
was relatively consistent.
I mean, that's usually the worst part about jobs like that is the inconsistent hours.
Yeah.
Uh
Well, I'm
okay.
pretty consistently a morning manager, so I mean they can move me around because I've worked night shift before, so they can move me to whatever shifts they need to, but they generally keep me on mornings because that's where they actually need me right now.
Well, that sounds good. I mean, I guess the biggest questions to ask relating to this are do you find that working that job makes it harder to pursue the other interests that you think could take off as either
Oh,
happier career
absolutely not.
options? No?
No. Well, I mean, I'm already at the understanding with my manager because she's told me that if I have any other opportunities that come up to do anything
Hmm.
that I would enjoy more, it would be absolutely stupid to not take those on.
Hmm.
Like I think the team that I work with there is pretty understanding of what I want to do and willing to tell me when I should take on those opportunities.
Well, I mean,
And
it's
also another part of it is that again, I do work in the morning, so I'm able to like come home, write music, do my streaming, whatever else I want to do when I'm here at home during the actual day.
I think it's super rare that someone does work like at an entry level job and works their way up to the point where they feel like that doesn't have to be like their sole career choice. Like I feel like in most cases, just people I've known in similar situations, it can feel so overbearing and especially because a lot of the people I know have very inconsistent schedules. It can feel like even when you're off the clock, you're always on the clock because you could be called in at any moment. But I'm glad to hear
Right,
that you're
right.
you're not in that situation and have the freedom to work on things you want to as well.
Yeah, and I will acknowledge I think I'm in a pretty lucky version of that scenario as well because I've heard from a lot of people who work other fast food jobs or other entry level jobs that their experience have just been absolutely miserable. Most of the people I work with have said that we are a very nice environment to work at. So
I
I
mean,
think my environment is incredibly lucky.
my experience at GameStop as well, even though I was like at a
Oh, I've heard awful things about
it's pretty
GameStop. I'm
bad.
so
It's pretty
sorry.
bad.
I'm so sorry.
At a what could be classified as some level of a management position. Like whenever there wasn't higher level in the office, I was the manager at the time. I was a key holder, and I never got consistent hours, and there were not super consistent workers at the GameStop that I worked at as well. Obviously, all the people I made friends with at that GameStop were consistent. I'm not trying to call anyone out. Like, there was a reason that those are the people I kept friendships with, is because like they they treated everyone else who worked there with respect. But there were a lot of the seasonals and just like the very low entry level game advisor positions. They just they called out sick all the time. It got to the point where like I don't know, I like me myself and two other workers there were like the only three people who ran the store basically, even though we had I think 6 or 7, maybe 8 people hired. So it can be much worse. It can be significantly worse.
Yeah,
But
I've heard about places like GameStop, and I'm sorry you had to work there.
yeah. Not great pay either. Not great pay. All right, but let's move on a little bit. I might come back to the job, but let's talk about uh well, I don't know. So you said, and I feel like I just want to briefly talk about this, even if it's not super relevant to your situation, but you mentioned to me that you, like, as soon as you started streaming, had like some level of viewership from like the content you had created prior, right?
Right, right. And I'm sure a lot of that is from the fact that I did start on YouTube and was already pre-established on there. So anybody who like was actively subscribed to my channel and would comment on my videos could just pop in on a stream already because, they're already logged in. Like you can pull
Mhm.
it up on your phone because everyone has YouTube on their phone, obviously.
Sure.
You can just pull it up on your phone and just chat or whatever.
And was that pretty consistent that you would get like well, I don't know what YouTube's analytics are. Does it give like pretty good metrics after you finish a stream as to what the viewership was like throughout?
YouTube actually has some pretty good metric systems, or at least did back when I was streaming.
Mhm.
There was a little chart. I don't know what Twitch has, but for like every stream, you could actually see a chart where it would show the
Mhm.
bar across and show like the spikes and falls and such like that. And after the stream was done, it would just show the entire thing to you.
Yeah, yeah. And was so
That
like you
being
you
said, I've always tried not to pay attention to those charts.
I mean that's significantly healthier than my current status. I probably look at them a little bit too much, but I don't know, would you, I mean, if you looked often enough, was the viewership pretty consistent in those early days of streaming?
The viewership was kind of all over the place, to be honest.
And is that, I don't know, that might just be a YouTube thing. I mean, I can't really speak on how YouTube works compared to Twitch or what the metrics look like, but I don't know. I feel like when people go to Twitch, there's the expectation that you're going to be there for a while. Like I feel like most people who view Twitch treat it as like background noise. So when you
Right,
go
right.
to any stream on Twitch, you're like, I'm just gonna leave this open. Whereas I feel like, well, maybe not, but I feel like on YouTube where there is like so much more readily available, like concise, edited, like very easy to digest content instead, I would wonder if the attention span is a little bit shorter on YouTube. Can't say for sure, but
I don't know whether it's the attention span. Another thing I know is like if you're looking at games or speedruns or whatever on YouTube, sometimes the streams will pop up in that right hand panel where it shows all of the different recommended videos. Sometimes my stream would pop up there, so people who were already browsing speedruns could click that. And you don't get that kind of thing on Twitch where if somebody's just watching videos of speedruns, it'll just
yeah.
pop up on the side there.
Yeah, that's fair. I yeah, I guess, I guess it would be interesting. It'd be interesting to look into
So
that kind of stuff a little bit more, but
yeah, on YouTube you catch a lot of the browsing audience, which you
yeah.
don't really get on Twitch.
I mean, Twitch, there's no such thing as a browsing audience. Maybe in Hobbit, like,
Right,
there are a few
right.
people who will check the Hobbit category cuz like, it's mostly empty, but in any category that has like consistent people streaming it, there's not really any such thing as browsing on Twitch.
Right,
Right.
right.
Uh so how long have you been streaming? You said, was it around 2017, 2018 when you started?
Around March of 2017.
March of
Although my
2017.
streaming's been fairly inconsistent during the last like 2 years.
Is there any reason for that, or just taking breaks, or?
Well, um, so when I was first submitting my runs to Games Done Quick back in 2019, I was still working a night shift.
Okay.
And so I would come home from work and I would stream from whenever I got home until like 6 a.m.
Hmm.
So I had my nightly audience that would show up, which I had really consistent viewers in Gina and Micah who have been watching my stream for quite a while. They would always show up for the night streams. But then in 2020, Wendy's started their breakfast. and the management team moved me up to breakfast because they knew I was a good worker and they wanted to have me on the breakfast team. So I had a very, very major schedule shift just right at the beginning of 2020.
Hmm.
And that kind of like threw everything for a loop for a little while. And I stopped streaming for a little while during that time.
And I mean,
And
do
then
you think,
it took me a while to get back into the groove after that.
is that just getting used to a new schedule, or did it like hurt your motivation a little bit since you wouldn't be able to stream at the same time slot?
Um, it was partially due to the schedule. Actually, yeah, it was probably fully due to the schedule because anything in terms of mentality around that time, I blame solely on the fact that like I could not figure out my sleep schedule for several months because everything just suddenly abruptly shifted
That's,
like
yeah, that
that.
is a pretty big shift for sure.
Like
Okay.
going from working a 7 p.m. to 1 a.m. job to a 5:30 to 11 job,
Yeah.
5:30 a.m. to 11 a.m. You know.
It's rough.
Going that kind of shift really messes with your head, messes with your sleep schedule, everything like that. It's bizarre.
It can certainly be rough. So over the time of streaming, let's try and treat the hiatuses as if they didn't happen. You know, just sort of average it out. Have you seen any sort of increase in viewership, or has it roughly maintained about the same?
Well, okay. Um, Let me actually think about that for a second because I did switch at some point, I want to say last year, from YouTube over to Twitch.
Yeah, and I imagine
And
that would have a pretty big shift.
that caused at first an increase because
Oh,
there
really?
were people, yeah, it caused an increase at first because there are a lot of people who watch Twitch streams but for some reason won't watch YouTube streams. Especially a lot of people in the Hobbit speedrunning community.
Mm-hmm.
Like YouTube, one thing I will say about YouTube that I absolutely hate is their notification system has always been bad. Their
Yeah.
notification system simply does not work. Whether it's live streams or uploads or whatever, their notification system is basically non-existent.
Yeah,
So
it's
like
pretty
people
bad.
just wouldn't get notified of my streams, which I'm sure is part of the reason why I had such an inconsistent viewership on YouTube. With Twitch, the notifications actually worked, so I would get people in, but I think I got quite a few viewers at the beginning who were notified either because they followed my channel early on or because they watched the Discord notifications.
Sure.
And then I dropped off for a bit, but I'm sure a lot of that was also because I was actively just running really whatever I wanted to. Like sometimes I would be on all quests, sometimes I'd be on NMG, whatever, glitchless
Yeah.
runs, whatever, you name it. And then when I actually started running consistent categories again, like when I started really, really grinding for that all quest 107 and 106, my viewership increased a bit again because, consistency
Yeah. I
is,
mean,
I'm sure, what a lot of people are looking for.
it's funny to me that, like, I don't know, I feel like most people would agree that at the higher ends of Twitch, you, like, I don't know, I feel like you almost shoot yourself in the foot if you don't do variety content. Like, if you're sticking to one thing and one thing only, uh there are a lot of people who won't be interested. Like, I'll go back to ZFG because ZFG is, very popular for what he does, right? But I feel like there are a lot of people who just don't watch ZFG because they don't like OOT, right? Like they just won't get into that. But it feels like starting out, like, I don't know, if you're at low viewer at the very least, doing a variety of things is almost like the worst thing you can do. Like you don't catch much doing that.
Right, right.
It can be very
Whereas on
difficult.
on YouTube, the variety streams actually worked quite a bit
Hmm,
because again, you catch the browsers on there,
that's
and
true.
people on YouTube are more open to like, just jumping through whatever.
I think it's just a difference in the way that the platform pushes the content, whereas like
Right.
Twitch does basically nothing unless you have like, I don't know, at the very least I've seen Twitch push like a 70 viewer stream on my front page. All right. Do you feel like you've gotten better at streaming over the time?
I feel like I've gotten more confident in streaming and more
Sure.
confident in myself. Like, I used to like when I would stream in my early days of streaming, I would literally talk like this all the time, and my voice was very quiet. And I made the joke at the time that I sounded like a little girl.
I
My
recently
voice
looked
is
back at
something
some
I've
of my
never
earlier
exactly
stuff.
been confident in. So,
Yeah, I mean
but like
it's
my voice is, you can tell I've gotten a lot more confident with just the
yeah.
way I talk on stream, and I've gotten a lot more confident with my personality as well. Like I am the guy who will go on a tangent about Stranger Things season 2
I mean, I
during the
think
world
that's
record
great.
speedrun.
Like that's I feel like the more you feel natural and you feel like you're actually putting yourself out there, the better. Uh,
Right.
I mean, I don't know. It's certainly at times like I still don't even feel like I fully hit that point yet. There are quite a few times where I feel like I don't know, I'll just get caught up in something or maybe I'll be like too anxious to go off on a certain bit that maybe I should go off on that bit.
In
But
my early days of speedrunning, I think my mentality was very much, I'm speedrunning The Hobbit and people are here to see speedruns of The Hobbit, so I'd better not get in the way of that content.
yeah.
But
But I
like
don't
as I've streamed more and as I've also watched more streamers, I've come to realize that a lot of it is the personality of the streamer. Because like I can watch streams of The Hobbit, but if I'm watching a stream by somebody who I just don't enjoy their personality, I'm not going to stick around and I'm not going to watch
mhm.
more streams. Whereas like I think my friend Zojalix, who streams on Twitch, is a really good example of, I really enjoy his personality, so I'll watch his streams of literally whatever he's streaming just because I enjoy him and his personality.
I mean, I think that's like the right thing to do, and I think that the more you stream, the more it just sort of happens, like whether you're consciously thinking about it or not. Like I
Right.
certainly didn't get into streaming with the goal to be entertaining, but I don't know. I guess at some point it happened. You know, I fucking at
Wait, you
some
got
point I
entertained? When?
sucked a genie's cock, and he gave me the ability of humor, and those were
When did
only
you
the
become
first two
entertained?
wishes. There you
I'm
go.
being mean now.
All right. So what's? I mean, is there any point in the past that you took streaming more seriously or less seriously? What do you think is the most seriously you've taken streaming?
Um, I wouldn't say there's been a particular point where I've taken streaming itself more or less seriously, but there have been points where I've taken the content more seriously. And I think right
Yeah.
now is one of the most serious moments for me because I'm sure you saw on the board. The board says, let's smash that sub 27 in MG, and I'm going for it. World record right now is 27:13. I'm going for that sub 27. I'm
Okay.
going to be I'm streaming all of my attempts. I'm seriously grinding for it because I want to get that time.
Well, I think that's
And that's the
good.
kind of thing, like when I have when I have a strict goal like that,
Yeah.
I think that's when I can stream a lot more seriously.
I think it
And
helps the
also, when I'm
content
streaming
too.
like
Like
a
if you're
goal like that, people are stopping by and they know what they're in for. They know they're
yeah.
in for like a Dream World stream or whatever.
If you're consciously thinking about it though, I think it makes streams significantly better. The more like effort you put into making it like something to be watched, right? Like you're really
Right.
pushing for it now, which I think is good.
Right.
Right. And how consistently do you stream? Is it like a
It's wild. I have absolutely no consistency. Some days I will literally stream like 3 different times during the same day, and then other times I'll go for like a month without streaming. I
do
just
you,
kind of stream when I feel like it.
do you feel guilty when you don't stream?
Oh, absolutely not. I don't owe the
Okay.
viewers
Good.
anything. I
Good.
stream for me. I stream for me, which is why I crack all my dumb jokes and talk about Stranger Things.
Yeah. That's good. I think that the more pressure you put on yourself to stay live at all times, the worse the content's going to be as well. So
Right.
it's good that you're keeping a healthy distance from it and making sure that you only go live when you actually want to be live. So, would you say that I mean, I don't know, would you ever not do speedrunning? Like, is that something you've thought of, or do you think that you would always focus on speedrunning?
Um, if you're asking if I'm ever going to stop speedrunning, no.
But like, just for like a stream every now and then, have you ever thought of just doing something that's not speedrunning?
I've done streams that aren't speedrunning here and there. Like just the other day, well, most of the time, a lot of the time it will start out with me doing speedruns
Mm-hmm.
during the day, and then I'll be like, you know what? I'm frustrated with this. I cannot do speedruns today. So then I'll usually like whoever's still in chat, I'll be like, what do you guys want to see?
Oh,
And
that's
then like
good.
if they don't have any suggestions, I'll just do whatever I feel like. But like the other day, for example, I had two different people who both asked, "Have you ever played Taz the Tasmanian Tiger?" And I'm like, "I've never played this game." So there was like 2 hours of playing Taz the Tasmanian Tiger blind
Do
for
you
the
mean
first
do you
time.
mean Ty the Tasmanian Tiger?
Yes,
Yeah, Ty
Thank you,
Ty.
thank you.
I just
Whatever it's
recently
called.
replayed through. Did you play the first one? I hope.
I'm playing whatever one is on Steam. The first one, yeah.
Okay, good, good. It
Obviously, I'm not done with it yet, but it's
it
a
gets
fun
less
game, you know.
good after that. So
The series or the game?
kind of both. I feel like the quality in the game kind of drops off at a point too. Like some of the later levels are really bad. But
Yeah, I got to like the level with the water surfing and like gave up partway through it
water.
because you wouldn't be able to tell from watching my speedruns, but I am notoriously bad at video games. Like it literally took me 30 minutes the first time I played Superliminal to figure out that you could move the big chess piece in the first hallway of the game.
Well,
That kind of bad at video games.
I'm sure there will reach more points in Ty the Tasmanian Tiger where you hit that breaking point because I don't know, some of the bosses, some of the levels are just truly awful. But anyways, do you feel like the people that stop in regularly, well, maybe I shouldn't say regularly. Do you feel like the just any random person who pops into your stream almost immediately like is there because they understand what you're doing? I feel like even when I'm doing speedrun stuff, I get a lot of people who pop in and just I don't know, expect something else immediately.
I try to be very blatant with my titles as to what the stream is going to be, like Ty the Tasmanian Tiger blind playthrough, or The Hobbit any percent speedrun attempts for sub 27, or stuff like that. So I generally have the hope that anybody who stops in my streams knows exactly what they're getting into from the title alone.
I feel like I might be in a weird niche where I do speedruns of games, but I just do not care about the time that I get or anything other than what I'm saying. So it's probably mostly my fault. But about the people who like regularly watch you, would you say that most of them, at the very least, are there for your content in the way that you said? You know, you watch streamers typically, you'll just watch them do whatever they want because you like their personality. Do you feel like that's the same case with most people who watch you?
So I'm going to answer that question with a really weird example.
Sure.
The other day, I was speedrunning The Hobbit on PC, and I got a really bad boost in Dreamworld and proceeded to go off on a 13-minute tangent that ended with me opening up MS Paint and explaining the joke, "Why did the chicken cross the road?" And Moose clipped it and posted it in the
I
Discord.
did watch a bit of that. Yeah.
So I think the answer to the question is probably yes, people stick around because of the personality, which, you know, my personality on stream can go from being a very serious speedrunner grinding for a sub 27
Mhm.
to opening up MS Paint and having scribbles of chickens and whatever else on there.
So there's nothing keeping you to the Hobbit then, except exclusively your own desire to get the record at this point.
Correct,
Okay,
yes. Well,
well, that's
even
good.
after I get the record, I'm gonna continue
I
grinding the
mean,
game
you've
because
been
I
you've
love
been at the
running the
Hobbit for so
Hobbit.
long.
I love running the Hobbit. It's something that I really enjoy, and as far as I can tell, it's something that most of my viewers really enjoy watching.
Hmm.
And like, even if they don't necessarily enjoy the Hobbit, most of them seem to enjoy the way that I talk about the game or about not the game, whatever I'm talking about.
Do you find it difficult to stream when there isn't anybody? Well, at least to your knowledge there, like when there's no chat
Um,
action or anything.
so I don't find it necessarily difficult to stream, but like if there's a super long period of time where it's clear that I don't have any viewers, I kind of my brain says, why am I streaming if nobody's watching? Because like that's the reason you stream.
Yeah.
So generally, like, that won't usually cause me to cut stream, but sometimes that thought will pop up. Generally, usually what caused me to cut stream is either if I get frustrated with the game, in which case I'll either cut or switch topics, or if I just get too tired,
Okay. But
or
it
if I
does affect your
break some
mentality a
rule.
little at the very least.
Just a little. It's something I think about more than actually getting upset about.
Sure.
Like, crosses the mind.
How do you typically feel after a stream if you check and see that there wasn't anybody who was watching? Or do you just not check at all?
I generally don't check the stats after I'm done streaming, because when I'm not streaming, I don't care.
Man, that's dedication. It is
I
probably
know,
the
I
healthier
know.
way of doing it. All right. So,
Also, again, the two reasons I usually stop streaming are either I get really frustrated or I get tired. If I'm tired, I don't care because I want to go to bed. And if I'm frustrated, I'm too frustrated with whatever I just streamed to look at any of those statistics anyway, so I don't care. So either way, I don't really care.
so if the numbers don't really have, any sort of factor in the equation, uh do you after a stream still think of like whether or not, hey, that was a good stream, that was a bad stream, and is there anything that goes into that?
Um, I generally I don't think of good or bad streams in terms of the audience
Hmm.
participation or interaction necessarily. I think of it more as whether I enjoyed the stream while I was streaming.
And does
And
that
a lot of that does come down to the audience participation. Like, if there are a lot of people and they're cracking a lot of jokes with me and reacting to what I say, generally that's more of a enjoyable time for all of us, including
yeah,
myself.
yeah, of course. Does your quality and performance at the Hobbit? I mean, obviously, if you set like a great PB, that's something that you're probably going to end the stream feeling good about, right? But
Oh yeah, very much so.
I mean, even if you don't get a PB and you still feel like you were performing like consistently, or maybe you were performing inconsistently, does that either make or break a stream for you?
So if I'm getting really good runs, that's a good stream. Like, if I'm getting really consistent level times or whatever, that's a
Hmm.
good stream. If I'm getting really good audience participation, that's a really good stream. Generally, those two things don't happen on the same stream, because if the audience is being like really interactive, that will sometimes cause me to get straight up distracted from the game and pay too much attention to the audience.
And does
Or
that
like
bother you, or are you okay with it?
or like if I'm just kind of like in a really goofy mood, like the chicken crossing the road drawing where I just open up MS Paint for 13 minutes. I really don't mind either way, as long as like if I'm having a good time interacting with the audience, then I don't mind because I'm having a good time anyway.
Sure, sure. So it's not like, I don't know, you don't care too much about the time that it's detracting from the quality of the stream, or anything like that.
Right, right.
Yeah,
I mean, if I'm not interacting with the audience, then again, what's the point of streaming?
exactly. And so, okay, let's jump to GDQ. When was GDQ in the equation? When did you go?
2019.
2019.
June of
And
2019, I think. 2 a.m.
so it was still GameCube scene at that point. Was there wasn't like any attraction on PC around that time?
Well, I mean, Schneider had the PC record at the time, but there wasn't the big hype around
Yeah,
PC
from
that
what I
there is
remember
now.
from the
There
the
were like
doc, it
four
was
runners on the
it was
leaderboard.
pretty uncontested for a bit. Uh,
This was before Geek.
mhm.
This was before Geek was grinding for the record, so
And so you said your GDQ run was at 2 a.m.
it was at 2 a.m. Yes.
I couldn't tell from the VOD, but how much of a crowd there? I mean, if there was any, was there?
There was a pretty decent crowd behind us, and
Yeah.
like even without the crowd, there were a lot of people watching.
Yeah,
who
because I mean,
I couldn't see it obviously during the run, but after I went and looked on Twitter, I saw a whole bunch of people who were just like, how did I not know about this dumb little Hobbit game that is like actually one of the best speedruns I've ever seen?
do you think? Well, let's start with. Do you think that GDQ helped your stream specifically much?
Um, I think it probably helped my stream for like 2 days or something,
Two
honestly.
days.
I don't know. I'm a big fan of hyperbole, so I will either go way under or way over. Like I'm sure you've heard me say on stream, like I literally pressed the button 15 times, even though like I pressed it twice. You know, stuff like that.
So, I mean, does
But my
that?
point is, I don't think it really helped the stream for that long overall. I mean, it brought in new runners,
Yeah. I mean,
but
I think that can be more helpful than anything else.
right.
Just growing more attraction to the community is, it pushes everyone else up.
Right, and that was the goal anyway, was to bring more attraction to the community rather than to bring more to myself.
Do you think that? I mean, how many people do you know, if you recall any, came from GDQ and stayed?
I mean, do you want me to count?
Well, I mean, is
I
there many people who stuck around running for too long after that?
I don't honestly know. I would actually have to ask in there. But at this point, I feel like there are a lot more people who came because of the documentary.
I feel like I mean, me personally, I feel like a lot of it came down to it being the GameCube version that was run. I feel like if somebody else ran a GDQ run and did the PC run, this is purely an opinion piece here, but I feel like it would be a lot easier for more people to get into The Hobbit. For one, if they saw the shorter run. And two,
Right.
if they saw that, hey, I'm watching this on a PC right now, I can just go and get the game and start running it myself, right? Uh,
Right. And also, The Hobbit, I don't know if this is 100% accurate, but I feel it would be something to say we had a lot more of an interaction. We had a lot less of this looks like a cool speed game that I would like to run, and a lot more of, hey, I remember this game growing up. This speed run is cool. So I got a lot of people who stopped in to see the speed run,
mm-hmm.
but then it comes down to these people are here to see speed runs, and now they're watching me reset on Dreamworld a lot.
Yeah.
So once again, like I said, about 2 days where like you get that small influx, but then a lot of them drop off because a lot of them obviously aren't familiar with speedruns. They just see that game.
I feel
And
like
then
that's pretty.
when they see what speedrun streams are, they lose interest pretty quickly.
I think that is pretty typical of the GDQ audience, is that it grabs such a mass appeal of people that don't generally watch, like everyday speedrunners.
Right.
That they just don't exactly know what it feels like to watch someone attempt to do runs live and not actually commit to finishing it, for an event.
Right. See, I wouldn't mind watching somebody reset on Dreamworld for 2 hours,
Yeah.
but I can definitely see why somebody who has only ever watched full game speedruns would tire of that after like 3 minutes.
So are you at this point still optimistic that The Hobbit could get more popular? I mean, I feel like everybody who runs The Hobbit thinks that it is, like one of the best speed games. Like, there is a lot of really cool tech in it. It is, to some degree, I feel like there are some people who have nostalgia for the game playing it as a kid. Like, there's enough people that could remember it.
Hobbit has a lot of really cool tech at this point,
Yeah.
and for the longest time, I felt like the only thing it was really missing was its audience or its people behind it,
Mm-hmm.
which it feels like it now has more than ever, partially thanks to Critical. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
we can't pretend like that's not like, you know.
It certainly influenced a bit. I'm not sure that that's going to be the only thing that'll push it if things do start looking up for The Hobbit, but it certainly helped.
Right.
So Why do you run The Hobbit? What drew you to it at first?
Oh my goodness. This brings me back to like 2007 or something because this one's actually a very long story if you're in for the whole thing.
Sure, yeah, go for it.
So, we would go to my grandma's house way back in like 2007, 2008 or something.
This is a good start.
And over there, all of my uncles and aunts, or most of them, still lived over there
Uh-huh.
because they were still young enough to live with my grandparents. And a lot of them played video games. And my mom, because we were pretty young at the time, didn't want us playing like any of their like Call of Duty or Halo or any of the like shooter games that they
Sure.
played. So when I was over there one day, my uncle pulled out this game, The Hobbit, and he's like, "Here, I'll pull out a game where you can talk to people and just, wander around, have a good time." So he pulled that out, and oh, what is happening with my webcam?
It looks
I
okay to
don't know,
me.
whatever. I don't care. It was flashing colors for a second.
Oh,
Yay,
maybe I didn't
rainbows.
notice.
Okay, anyway. Um, so I played the game a bit there, and I remember I got stuck on Overhill and Underhill and couldn't figure out what to do. So set that aside for a few years. A few years later,
Wait, important question. Was this GameCube or PC?
this was Xbox.
Oh, damn. Okay.
I have a game
Everybody's
for
favorite.
Xbox. So my first experience with it was actually on Xbox. So then flash forward a few years and I decide I want to play this game again, but they don't have it over there anymore.
Mm.
So I persuade my dad to get it for me for Christmas and he gets me the PC version. So I play it and I finish it for the first time on PC. I have a really good time. I play it several times because this is now like one of my games that I really enjoy.
Sure.
I want to say this is still back in like 2008 or something. I don't exactly remember all the years, but this was like a really long time ago, long
Mhm.
enough for me to not even remember what year it was. So then, I start looking up stuff for it on YouTube, and eventually I come across Kazooie's very, very, very early glitch videos of Unexpected Party, Troll Hole, Roast Mutton, and start doing that kind of stuff. And then I start going for other stuff like, okay, let's see how fast I can beat this level, or let's see how few things I can beat this level with. And that kind of thing went on, and I absolutely loved this game. Played it, played it, played it, played it, played it, played it. I at some point had it actually on my school laptop. I don't remember why. But 2015 we were at a school assembly, which it's one of those things where like all of the different students participate in like dumb games and stuff that I didn't care about. So I was just on my school laptop watching YouTube, searching Hobbit stuff for some reason. I don't remember why. And I come across the Hobbit speedrun in 4227. At this point, I know what speedruns are because I've seen like Super Mario 64 speedruns, but I'm not quite familiar with the speedrun scene.
Mhm.
So I watch it, and this absolutely just blows my mind. Like, what did I just watch, and how did he do any of this? And then that's what got me into everything.
Man, so you were there very early on then.
Right, right.
Is there anything you think would pull you away from The Hobbit at this point, or are you like pot committed? Like you're just gonna keep running Hobbit forever?
Um, I think the best way I can phrase it is if the Hobbit speedrun became stupid. Like
Like
I
if
can't phrase
menu
it any
glitches
better
was agreed
way.
on.
Well, menu glitches are still their own category. Like we have a category
Yeah,
called
but
any menu glitches that I
I mean,
have
there's
run
a
on
reason
GameCube.
not
It's just
many people
bad.
run it.
Um, I'm referring to like if they found a whole bunch of glitches that were not only way faster but also like stupid, ridiculous, hard to do, and
Sure.
it turned into like a Super Mario 64 SBLJ type of situation, then I think I would lose interest pretty quickly.
I don't know. I think it's just a little funny. Let me mock slightly. I just think it's very funny that that you don't want it to be stupid, but also you run crash percent. So
Okay, Crash Percent is a completely different
it's a
story.
very serious category.
Crash Percent actually started in 2016 because Black Chaos, who was a super old runner, had a video on his video on his YouTube called Dreamworld Deload. I'm like, what is this?
Mm-hmm.
So I go to watch it, and it's literally just him resetting the game in Overhill Underhill, and then getting the glitchiest Dreamworld that I have ever seen in my life, just out of nowhere. So I start messing around with that, and I figure out how to get that consistently.
Mm-hmm.
And then I realize you can crash the game pretty fast just in Unexpected Party from this. So, I route that, and I'm like, you know what? Let's just do a speedrun of crashing the game. So I did it, and then I did it again, and then again, until I had, like, improved the time down. And then a couple years later, MD and I accidentally found another crash in Roast Mutton, which I'm sure you've seen the crash percent
Yes.
route in Roast Mutton where you unload the plant.
Yeah.
Like, we were just messing around with it because it's just a random crash that happened, and we're like, why is this happening? There is literally no reason for this. Until I posited the theory about the plants. I'm like, how much you want to bet it's got something to do with these stupid plants over here for no reason whatsoever? So then we figured that out, and I'm like, hey, this is another consistent crash. I bet I can get a speedrun with this. So I started doing speedruns with that as well. And that speedrun category actually led to the discovery of a 30-second time save in All Quests.
Hey, there you
Like,
go.
the story of All Quests and some of the discoveries we made in that category is absolutely bizarre and ranges from everything from crash percent to all chests.
Gonna have to make your own documentary one day.
I've got a 23-page script on my other laptop.
Oh, let's go.
It's not even finished yet. I just hit 2022. Or actually November of 2021.
Well, he's catching up. He's getting back to present. All right. So let's take a pivot then to talk a little bit about your music at the very least. I feel like I wouldn't do justice unless I covered it at least a bit. How did you learn to make music?
I've been playing the piano since I was 4.
Okay. Well, that's a pretty early start as well.
I kind of just improvised my own stuff on piano. And then when I
Hobbit and
decided that I
piano.
wanted to try writing music at some point, I found this online service called Noteflight, which back then was half a decent service, but absolutely sucks now.
It happens.
It was decent for writing what I wrote back then, but it still kind of sucks. Like, you can only use like up to 5 instruments or something. Can't add tempo changes. It was absolutely stupid, and I hate it now. But
Yeah.
after that, I started looking up free different music notation softwares and came across MuseScore, which is a really nice score writing application. MuseScore is absolutely my favorite out of the ones that I've experienced, including Finale, which is a $300 software that sucks. MuseScore is free, and it's a million times better. Anyway, tangents aside, I've been writing scores for a while, which allows me to write like instrumental music and stuff.
Uh-huh.
But at some point, I want to say it was in like 2020. Yeah, it would have been 2020. So, story takes a bit of a tangent here. Once again, I've got another bit of a long story, but these are always fun.
No, yeah, these are the best part.
So, you know how on YouTube, you can find really dumb, like, meme music? Like, have you ever heard of Pluffnub, for example?
Not off the top of my head now.
There's stuff like, Africa by Toto, but the lyrics are a beat off and out of tune.
Okay.
Stuff like that. For some reason, I really enjoy going online and listening to these absolute just dumb meme songs. Or just like ones like this song, but with the lyrics of this other song for no reason. Like Frozen, but with all-star lyrics, which is a really nice one.
I mean, I've listened to Siva Gunner for years, so I know the vibe.
Yeah, Siva Gunner, that's a really good example too. I really enjoy that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But I was showing my friend some of this stuff, and she pointed out a song. It was called Fireflies, but the only lyrics are "You would not believe your eyes." She's like, I love Fireflies. I want to hear this. So I listened to it, and I know Fireflies is a big meme. Like, I know this now. Fireflies by Owl City is a pretty big meme. But this was the first time I had ever heard the tune to this song.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so catchy to me, and I absolutely love it.
I mean, it's,
I go home,
it's called pop music for a reason.
I go home, and in the next by the time the next week has passed, I've listened to every single Owl City song. And I have no qualms in saying Owl City is my favorite music artist as of this
You
moment
know,
in
fair
time.
enough. Yeah.
But his music kind of inspired me to start going in a more electronic / synth direction,
Hmm.
which is kind of where I've landed now. I purchased FL Studio with all of its plugins a while back, and I've been writing music with that ever since.
Mm. I'm a big fan of a few of your tracks. And would you say that Owl City is your biggest inspiration musically?
Um, it would be both a lie. Well, it wouldn't be a lie to say Owl City is my biggest inspiration, but it'd be slightly misleading. The actual truth of it is the guy who runs Owl City, whose name is Adam Young, also has like 400 different projects under different names
Mm.
that he does. And my biggest inspiration right now would be either his project Sky Sailing or his project Port Blue, which
Okay.
Port Blue has some absolutely amazing, gorgeous ambient music, and that's probably my biggest actual inspiration right now.
I'll have to check it out then. Have you ever streamed yourself making music, or is there no interest in doing something like that?
I've streamed making music a couple of times, and actually the reason I streamed making music the first time was because I put some of my music up and I had such a nice response to it from some of the people here in this community that I was like, you know what? I might as well try it. So I
Yeah.
streamed music, and I got a few viewers who said that they really enjoyed it. So every once in a while, I'll still pull up streaming. The problem with streaming music or streaming music composition, is that the actual inspiration for writing things comes not as often as like being able to get a run going for speedrunning, for
Yeah,
example.
for sure.
Like, I have to just mess around with synths for a while sometimes before I can get even a remotely decent idea that I can actually take off the ground and do something with.
Hmm.
And that can be really tedious to watch sometimes.
Do you what would you say is like your current priority balance of streaming versus making music?
Um, it really depends on the day. Right now, because I'm grinding for that sub 27 MG, I'm gonna point to that poster every time I say that.
I mean, it's good to have
Right now, because I'm
physical
grinding for that,
representation, you know?
right. Right now, because I'm grinding for that, I would say that's my priority. But like, once I get that, who knows? I mean, sometimes, I just get hit with a whole bunch of different music ideas at once. And
Hmm.
when that happens, I end up writing all those out and really focusing on that.
So it comes and goes then.
Right.
All right. Well, yeah. I mean, I look forward to more of that because I've been a fan so far. I went back through most of your YouTube music that you have uploaded there.
Oh no.
I know.
I'm so
I know how
sorry.
that goes. Yeah. Trust me. I would hate if anybody looked back at my older stuff too. Thankfully for video games, I have most of my early game creations
Well, it's
not on
what's
the
really
public
bad.
space. Huh?
What's really bad to me is the thing that pops up primarily when you say that is, oh no, he listened to Halloween Drive-Thru Boy,
I don't know if I
which
have
is
listened to
bad
that
because
one yet. I'll put that
that
at the
one's
top of the
actually
list
the
then.
one that one's actually one that people have told me is pretty good, and that's, I think, the only one I have public right now that's a lyrical song.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that
I
does
also have
strike me as standing out.
in the channel, let me actually I'm gonna switch captures here just real quick, just so you
Should
can
I
actually
hide it? Should I be
see this.
careful here?
No, you're
Okay,
perfectly fine.
fine.
I've
There you
got
go.
it all open here. Oh, I've still got the Christopher Nolan tab open here. If you go to my playlist, I actually have a bunch of hidden songs here as well. I've got my live piano songs, plus I've got an album that I released back in like 2019 of just things that I wrote out.
I'll certainly I'll go through it because I enjoy what I've heard so far.
Gonna switch back there now. There we go. You can see my beautiful face again.
Everybody appreciates it. Thank you. I know that it. I mean, I don't know. Is there what hesitation is there for you not streaming with webcam? Because I would say that, like, in general, it is significantly easier for people to want to click on a stream if there's a webcam. I mean, there's a lot of, like, obvious reasons, and that, like, if there is no webcam, someone doesn't immediately know that the streamer is even there. Which I guess could certainly play more of a role if you're a streamer that doesn't talk very much, but I know that that's not an issue for you. But
So for me, there's actually two things to that. One of them is that I'm slightly self-conscious just about the way I look, so I don't show it off too often on camera. And also, the fact that, like, half the time when I'm streaming, I will not be wearing a shirt, because especially in summer, I absolutely hate wearing shirts just because I sweat so much. And,
well,
I don't want to show that off on stream.
It isn't a TOS offense anymore. I think that might even help you out. It might it might stir some people on.
That's good. That's good. But the other part of it is the fact that I don't actually have any sort of proper... This stupid bug, I swear. I'm going to kill this thing the next time it flies by.
Trust me, I've been dealing with it too. It is hot and humid today.
ADHD. Anyway, the other part of it is I don't have any sort of proper setup. Like, I don't have a desk or anything. When I stream, my laptop is set on my bed next to me, sitting in a chair across from my TV. And in order to have an angle where you can actually see my face, like, there's no setup for that. That's simply not happening.
I guess that's fair. We'll chalk it up to lack of equipment for now, then.
Right. And lack of shirt.
How do you deal with comparing yourself to other streamers? Do you think that that's an issue, or are you mostly okay with that?
I try not to compare myself to other streamers. I don't compare myself in numbers at all, because
numbers, of course.
Stupid. Like, I just don't feel like doing that. And again, anytime that I would be thinking about the numbers is time that I'm either spending sleeping or not wanting to stream, so...
I certainly don't see numbers as an accurate representation of, like, how good a streamer is. Like, there are plenty of streamers with, like, viewership around hours that, are trying their hardest.
I won't compare myself in statistics, but a lot of the time I will compare myself in terms of what I'm doing or how I'm doing it, like how well I'm able to hold myself together on stream, or how well I'm able to get runs going on stream, stuff like that. How much I participate with my chat, stuff like that.
Can it be difficult, like, specifically regarding speedrunning, if, like, you feel like you aren't performing at what your level is? Like, if you're doing worse than you think you should be?
Oh, you remember that day when we were doing races and I got done with the one race and then just abruptly left chat because
was that Hobbit performance related?
That was very much, I'm sure, Hobbit. Well, part of it was Hobbit performance related, because I found running PC stresses me out a lot, because I simply cannot get runs that match the execution that I know I'm able to pull off. Like, if I were able to get a run that matched my level of execution right now, I'm 100% sure it would be a sub 14.
And is that you comparing yourself to...
I have the ability to pull off a sub 14. I just cannot actually do it in a run.
Is that you comparing yourself to what you can do in GameCube, or just you can do PC better than that?
When I practice PC, I'm, like, very, very easily able to, like, just segment, like, just get through it like that. But for some reason, when I do runs, like, when I actually sit down and do runs, I just cannot get it together at all. Like, it's not even, like, the stress of getting to the end of the run. I can do troll hole, like, 90% of the time in IL practice, or just in practice in general, but as soon as I get to that level and runs, it just completely falls apart. And that's as early as troll hole.
Yeah. Okay. So,
whereas on GameCube, I've been able to, at multiple different points in history, match my level of execution that I know I can actually pull off. A good example of that is my 2812, which is still my best run ever. Not my PB, but my best run ever.
So did the races make it harder then for you to be performing under what you think your level is with other people getting like, I don't know, 14-minute times?
I think races actually make it a bit less stressful for me just
That's
because
what I feel.
I'm not as worried about pulling off everything and getting a super good time in a race.
Yeah, I feel significantly more comfortable racing than I do. For one, because like when I'm doing runs by myself, like I care so little about my
Yeah,
time
yeah.
that I feel like I don't know, the content is never really about Hobbit speedrunning, more so what I'm just talking about. So I feel like races at least give me some level of excuse to try, which can help
The
me out a
thing
bit.
with being in chat, I also noticed because I watched a video a while back about Cheese and Simply, and I can't remember what the other guy is who speedruns Super Mario 64. But apparently they used to get in calls all the time, and that helped their motivation a lot.
Mhm.
And I've noticed a similar thing with me as well. With if I get into calls with people, or if I'm just chatting with people about things, it can be a lot easier to get runs going. It can be a lot easier to get consistent runs going. It can be a lot stressful to not have runs going.
I feel like just taking your mind off of it a little bit helps a ton. And
Oh
that's
yeah.
yeah, that's something that getting in a call with someone very easily does. Do do the people around you in your life know that you stream?
Yes. I've mentioned it at multiple different points to my family knows that I stream, and
Mhm.
generally pretty supportive of it. The people at work, the people who I work with know that I stream, and some of them even have once in a while stopped into the streams.
I've had the same situation and I never know what to do with it. Like
Right,
I
right.
don't know, for some reason I feel significantly more uncomfortable when someone I know in real life shows up than any other random person in chat.
Like it's like your friend Todd just stopped in as Gamer Dude 69. It's like,
Yeah.
what do I call him?
I don't know how to handle the situation. I've never been very good about it.
Right,
Uh
right.
well that's good. I think that it's I don't know. I feel like it can be very easy to try and separate that part, and I'm not even necessarily saying that I think it's wrong to separate that part. Um like I don't know, especially for me, like I've tried my hardest to not let my family know because they're incredibly nosy and will definitely at any given opportunity come in to embarrass me. So there
Oh, I absolutely understand. My little brother really likes to throw up in my door and say, "How's the stream going?"
oh, that's great. That's
So
great.
whenever I turn my microphone off, there's a good chance that that has happened.
Uh, what are your future goals? Ignoring your whiteboard there. We all know. But long-term goals. Do you have any great long-term goals for streaming or
Um, hmm. Well, I mean, I'd like to, aside from just the sub 27, I think I'd like to improve my times in multiple different categories. Like, I'm pretty sure I can get a 105 in all quests. I'm pretty sure I can
Mhm.
probably get a sub 115 in glitch lists. Pretty sure I can probably pull a bunch of different categories down. Stuff like that. Um, I'd like to be able to stream more games in general. I mean, I know I talked about it earlier how I don't think the content that I enjoy streaming would really be sufficient for like a career or anything, but I do enjoy streaming other content from time to time, and I'd like to be able to do more of that kind of thing. The
Mhm.
issue, of course, being that I'm bad at games. So, oh,
Well,
there's the color again.
I know. I
Hi.
noticed it this time. It's a fun party. I like it. Um
Oh, so fun fact, I'll actually show this off real quick. This will be just a little bit of a tangent.
sure.
I have a lot of trouble with bright lights since we're talking about lights anyway. I
Mhm.
have a lot of trouble with bright lights, so like at night or just at various different points during the day. Let's see if this actually works. Phone, any day. Any day now.
I'm waiting.
There we go.
Ooh.
It didn't really show up very well, but like I've got a red light on in my room right now. I can switch the color to like different shades. You can barely see it, but like
It is pretty impossible to tell, yeah.
yeah, I will switch my light to different shades depending on the time of day. Like generally when I'm streaming, I'll have it on like a dim green blue.
This guy's
Just
got
because
flux operating in his real life.
Right, right.
Okay. Well, that's good. I think it is, even though I said that I don't necessarily think that streaming variety content is great for growth as a streamer. I, for one, don't think that anybody should really focus on growth as a streamer, because it's impossible to go for, Like, you can't focus on, I guess if you're really playing the streamer game and like networking and stuff, yeah, you can try your hardest to really push numbers up. But if you're just streaming for fun and actually care about making entertaining content and enjoying yourself, I think that just streaming whatever you want whenever you want, even if it's not The Hobbit or not speedrunning, it helps me out for sure. Like, I get so
Right.
burnt out doing the same thing over and over, so I'm glad
I
to
did
see.
mention earlier, I think how like when I get frustrated, I'll just be like, I can't do this right now.
Yeah,
Give me something else to play.
yeah, I'm glad to
And
see that
actually,
you're looking to that as something you want to do more of.
oftentimes I'll acknowledge like if I cut stream, I'll I'll sometimes go and play something else. Like one of my go-tos a lot of times is Breath of the Wild, just because Breath of the Wild is a very calming game where I can kind of just run around and explore. But my go-to for a while was actually VVVVVV, just because it's my favorite game in general. I
It's good.
love
It's a
that
good
game.
one.
Love that game to death.
It is a good one. I think I've only played through it twice, but I can certainly see it it being something you like to go back to.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think we're mostly good here. Have
I
you
was
ever
gonna say,
thought?
I see another question here, but I feel like that's one that we've basically
I
already
know.
answered.
I've skimmed over ones that have been answered tangentially. The only thing
Right,
I
right.
think we need to cover is, do you think that streaming is something that you would continue to do, regardless of what happens? Like, even if you stay at, the same viewership levels, even if you decide that you don't want to do Hobbit, would you just continue streaming because it's something you enjoy?
I do enjoy streaming, yes, and I think that it's something that I'm going to continue doing. Whether I continue to hop platforms to see what works for me. Right now, Twitch is working pretty well for me. But whether I continue on Twitch or whether I hop platforms, I do think that streaming is something that I enjoy doing enough that I'm going to continue doing it for a while.
Have you ever thought about quitting streaming in the past?
Not only have I thought about it, I've actually quit streaming at least one point
Did you, like, make a
and then
statement
come
about it,
back.
or did you just stop?
Um, well, actually, there were two different points. One of the points was when my GameCube copy of The Hobbit got scratched up bad enough that I literally could not play it
Okay, well,
anymore.
that's fair,
So I
yeah.
had to stop streaming while I waited for a new copy to come in. And the other point was just when after I got my 2812 for The Hobbit and I said, I'm not beating this one. I'm done with this category for a while. And then I set the game down for a while because I'm like, you know what? That 2812, and I don't know if you've actually seen that run or if you've, like, I know it was mentioned in the
I
documentary,
just
but
saw what was in the documentary, yeah.
basically what happened was we found the new warm welcome and inside info skips. And I pulled my time down because I had a 3252, I think, 3254, something like that,
Hmm.
before the new inside info skip was found. And the day after the inside info skip was found, I got like a 31 something, which absolutely sucked and had mistakes all over the place. So then, like 2 weeks after that run, I got the most insane run of my life, which was a 2846.
Hmm.
And there was only one mistake in the run, and it was in barrels out of bond. I got a long jump glitch on one of the jumps, which
Oh,
the barrels out of bond route on GameCube is completely different from the PC route. You cannot clip into the tree. You can't do that stuff on
yeah.
GameCube. But I got my 2846 and I showed that one off, and I specifically remember MD saying, this record is going to last for a long time. And it lasted for 2 months because I got my 28-12 2 months later. And, you know, for a run that they were saying was going to last for a long time, to be beaten by 34 seconds
Yeah.
like that, just kind of out of nowhere, was absolutely insane. And that run, like, I mean, there was a weird angled boost at the beginning of Flies and Spiders, and I accidentally paused one time in Riddles in the Dark. But other than that, it was like basically a perfect. Oh, I
Yeah.
slashed.
Like you
one
were
time
hitting
instead
your
of
peak
one.
basically at the time, at least.
Right, right. The 28-12 was my peak performance. The only way I could hope to improve that run was by improving the routes themselves, which I did do later on to sub 28. But you know, you know how the story goes.
Yeah.
So after I got my 28-12, I'm like, you know what? I think this is a good benchmark. I think I'm gonna set this aside for a while.
So at the time, it was
Because
just stopping streaming because you accomplished your goals, basically.
right. Well, it was more than just accomplishing my goals because, like, even just like a couple weeks before that, I could not see the run being pushed that low. Like, I was
Yeah.
grinding for a sub 28-30 because I knew I could pull it down below 28-30 because it was at 28-46. But I was not expecting as low as 28-12.
You reached goals no one knew were possible, basically.
I reached goals I didn't know were possible. I impressed myself so much. Like, I don't think I've sweated that much. And also, like, I have the really bad habit of when I'm super stressed, whether it's driving or holding a GameCube controller or whatever, I will actually clench my hands around
Same.
whatever I'm
Yeah.
holding. Like, I don't want to think about how much my hands probably hurt during that run.
But you've never thought about stopping streaming just because the act of streaming itself has become unenjoyable.
Oh, absolutely not.
Yeah. All right, so it seems like you're here to stay then. Chrix is not leaving.
Oh yeah, you know.
So I think we've covered what we came for. Is there anything else you think we should cover, or do we pretty much get it? 27 sub 27 on its way, you know.
Sub 27 on its way. I'm
Stay
Chris
tuned.
Nolan, and this is Inception.
All right, I think we got it all.